it's descriptive in that I try to give a fairly careful account of, well, it's a general account of both the big history of public education. It's maybe difficult for a lot of Americans to believe, but for most of the history in the Western tradition, education was understood to be in the province of the church. Church education, formal education, certainly in the Western tradition in the Middle Ages, was about theology. It was about worship. There were some forms of technical education, but it was basically the early universities were all church schools. And so it seemed important to me to tell the story of the secularization of education in North America. How is it that we now assume that when our children are 5 years old, we would, for the next 12 years of their lives, turn them over to the hands of the state for their education, and a state which has explicitly understood its mandate to be secular. In other words, that public schools consciously are committed to not integrating religious themes into their education. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the only way to think about education, and certainly historically it's a shift. And so it seemed to me important to tell descriptively something of the large trajectory of education, and then to explain again in rough terms or general terms how it is that Mennonites began to be concerned in North America, particularly in forming their own schools. So that part's descriptive. When I shift though to a theology of education, a theology of pedagogy, there I'm writing in prescriptive or ideal language. There I say this is a way of thinking about faith that is distinctive in the Anabaptist tradition, and given this distinctive approach to Christian theology, what might logically follow in terms of pedagogy and in terms of outcomes from that? And that's pretty prescriptive. I mean, I don't pretend it's the only it's not the Mennonite philosophy, but it's my vision, I guess.